All right, so it is 7:35 and this meeting is called to order. So I'll begin by reading the Indigenous Solidarity Statement. So we'd like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. The Ganyan-Gehaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. Jojage/Montreal is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. So that being said, this is a special council meeting, so there's no excusals necessary, but just an FYI, Sarah, the academic and advocacy coordinator, sent her regrets. She's not able to be here tonight as she is in class. There's still people coming in. So without further ado, we can get on to the main motion, which is on the bylaws. Just a couple of housekeeping before we get there, actually. I don't necessarily want to spend too much time rehashing the merits of the referendum question. We already dealt with that on Thursday, but the motion at hand is regarding whether or not council wants to invoke bylaw 21.2. So if we could just kind of limit ourselves to the question at hand, I think it would be helpful in terms of efficiency and time. As well, I know there's probably a lot of strong feelings about the issue, but just a reminder not to accuse each other or anyone of bad faith, or else I will have to read from Robert's rules again. Questions before we start? Harrison?
Yeah, I think this conversation regarding the motion should be done in closed session. So I would like to, I don't know if I should do that now or once the motion is read out, but I would like to motion that this discussion be held in closed session.
Okay, I think we can read the motion in open. That might be a good idea, just so it's there on the minutes and we don't have to deal with that. And then if there's desire to move into close, we can do that. So who's the main sponsor of the motion? Is it James or Hirsch?
Well, I would read it out.
Okay.
I also have some preemptive, like one preemptive amendment regarding the notwithstanding of certain standing regulations.
Sure.
Point of
Because
order, you first got to start with the Indigenous Solidarity Statement.
we already did that.
I did that.
The referendum.
We already did that.
Yeah, we already did all that.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah, you must have missed it. But yeah, no, because just given the like the circumstances behind this, and I recently remembered like the way that we successfully argued CUSA was because of the notice requirements. So we need to not withstand those, or else some third party that isn't Space or Nightline will probably invoke them to shut this down again, and probably win, because that's what they did with CUSA. So I'd like to preemptively amend that before it's even on the floor to say notwithstanding the relevant standing regulations, and just get that done and over with. So if I can just get the motion up.
Yeah, I think it's 6.2.1.1, the one you're talking about. That's the one to put it on the ballot. It's the one on timelines, and we had not withstood it last meeting as well.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have to do that again, right? So,
yeah.
So just notwithstanding that, and notwithstanding, I think it's 277 or something like that, that says that if there's a motion that involves the financial status of a certain group, they need 5 business days notice. So I need to notwithstand that as well.
Yes.
Because that's how we won CUSA. So it came to me while like between the original motion and now. So we have to notwithstand all those, just all the relevant ones, all of the ones that were involved in CUSA, all of the ones that were not withstood back then. Notwithstanding those, I'm just going to read out the be it resolved. So be it resolved, CSU bylaw 9.6.1, be amendment to remove the words presented to chairperson and council minimum of 5 days before the announcement, in accordance with bylaw 21.2. Be it further resolved, the change go into effect immediately with that bylaw. Be it further resolved that this change is not to be sent to referendum. So we're not sending this to referendum. It's to expire at the end of the mandate, and that the fee levy questions previously, sent in the previous CSU meeting be re-added to the ballot, and be it further resolved the budgetary impact of this motion is nil, notwithstanding the relevant standing regulations that apply here. So notwithstanding all of them.
Can we get a second for the motion first?
Second.
Second by Hirsch, and your motivation, James?
All right, so I'll be the first to admit that this is kind of a what shall we say, a nuclear option type of situation. But I think given the circumstances, we are kind of justified in doing that. And I'm going to kind of argue upon, like, on the basis of basically the good faith acting of the union. Now, the union, everybody, while we were acting, right, there was a constant understanding, right, that fee levy groups are kind of separate from the whole petition process until literally this second. This was always how we dealt with it. This is always how it is. So when we gave the fee levy review committee the authority to extend the deadline, we did it under the assumption that this wasn't violating the bylaws. Otherwise, the fee levy committee would have actually given them the correct deadline. Now, the fee levies, right, they acted in good faith, right? Space Concordia and Nightline, they both, sorry, not like Mindfulness Project, they both acted in good faith and submitted them by the deadlines that they were given by the committee. Now, to say, kind of to go up here, you know, these deadlines were extended because of COVID, right? And these kind of extenuating circumstances of COVID, of all of this, right, I think creates, usually there would be a lot of danger in setting precedent, right, by invoking this type of measure. But I think that the only precedent that's going to be set, especially considering the specific circumstances of this year and the coronavirus and the reason why we did all of these things, right, I think it's like an ethical imperative, right, for the union right now to basically, we acted in good faith thinking that we allowed these people to go. We gave them the deadline, and it's because of us that right now they're not eligible. So in good faith, I think we should allow them to go onto the referendum, essentially because the risk of abuse of this is absolutely nil because of the timeline that's going on right now. Like, the only real abuse that could happen, right, that would not expire already, or, like, you know, that wouldn't already be, you know, in accordance with the bylaws, would be if somebody tonight managed to obtain 500 signatures before tomorrow morning in a sort of, like, you know, in a referendum question. I think that there's absolutely zero chance of that happening. There is no singular person. Actually, no, even then they wouldn't be allowed to do it because they'd have to present it to council, and there's no council meeting. So even then they wouldn't be able to do it. Right? For it to be valid, we're not getting rid of the section where it says that you have to go into council and present your petition before you do that. So there's nobody that's scheduled to come to council. So this bylaw actually can't be abused because it's going to expire in June. And if somebody gathers signatures between now and June, it follows the old system anyway, because it's before 5 days, it's prior to 5 days from the poll in the fall, right? And so just because of the very narrow application of this and the very extenuating circumstances that we're in, which is COVID, sure, we might set the precedent that we can remove and extend deadlines when there's a deadly pandemic outside. I think that's a decent precedent to set. I think that's the only precedent we're at risk of setting, is that in the instance that there is a pandemic, right, and that the CSU in good faith extended the deadline for these people, and then only afterwards, only after we gave them final approval to go on to the referendum, found out that there was procedural errors, right? We fixed those procedural errors like so, right? We're not making, like, we acted in good faith, they acted in good faith, we all acted on, you know, bad information. Now, I personally don't agree with that interpretation, but that's the situation that we're in. Because of the ruling, we have the power to, you know, to change this and to kind of restore the good faith that everybody's been acting on. And this is the way that we can do it, by simply saying, well, we're amending the regulations, you know, go back to referendum, right? Because this is why this thing exists. This is why this immediate thing exists, right? To deal with these kind of very specific situations. And I think the situation is specific enough not to really, like, you know, maybe in like 100 years when the next pandemic's going to hit, they're going to use it again, right? Like, that's, and you know, so, you know, precedent is narrow enough not to be applicable in any sort of random situation, and the nature of the rule change, of the bylaw change, doesn't negatively have any sort of abuse potential, because even if somebody basically said, well, we're going to wait until 5 days before the next call of the election, where it's already after June. That's already after June, right? So, you know, so there's no, like, unless we decide to call the election for fall, like right now, but like, who's going to do that? Right? You know, but you know, so like it's after June anyway. Right, it's after June anyway, and nobody's here to go into council. So all of the other stuff that's around this already doesn't apply. There's no risk of abuse, and all we're doing is we're restoring the good faith operation of the union. So I ask everybody to, you know, help all these people that acted in good faith, and we acted in good faith. Let's restore the good faith of the union.
Great, thank you, James. Eduardo, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I guess first thing would be the motion to go into close, since I need to speak about lawyers.
Right, yes, that's a good point. Do we have a second to enter closed session to discuss
Second.
legal stuff?
Second.
Second, who was
Nikki.
that, sorry?
Nikki.
Oh, Nikki, all right, perfect, second by Nikki. Is there any opposition to entering closed session?
So just a point of information, are we gonna like, are we just gonna kick everybody out, or are we just gonna make like a breakout room for all the councilors?
Oh, I put everyone in the waiting room and then
Oh, okay.
just
Okay.
unwaiting room them at the
All
end.
right. Okay. Okay.
All right, so if there is no opposition, I just ask anyone, well, I'll just put you folks in the waiting room if you're not counselors, and then call you back in
Would
after.
it be possible to put us in the breaking room just so like we can at least talk to each other so people don't
I don't think I have the setting on to make breakout rooms.
Okay, fine.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's somewhere in the settings, but I just never thought of doing that because I didn't think we'd need it. But yeah, in the future, it might be a good idea. So let me just put waiting room. Waiting room.
While you're doing that, James, your new amendment notwithstands 6.2.1.1, and there was another one, correct?
Oh, just
277.
277, or like basically everything that we mentioned in the CUSA judicial board ruling. I'm pretty sure anybody can reference that if they want to, and the 6 point whatever one, right? The all of the relevant standing regulation. Just personally, I'd say all the relevant standing regulations. Personally, I think that's enough. Just be like, we're doing this notwithstanding all the ones we can notwithstand, right? But it's the ones that we mentioned in CUSA, in the CUSA ruling. I forget exactly. It's like 277 or 271 or something like that.
Yeah, I'll give you the
Or both of them.
exact number in a sec.
Yeah, so there's like a couple with the CUSA ruling. So the ones that were mentioned in the CUSA ruling, and this one, because knowing what just happened, a third party that isn't space or mindfulness is going to complain to the judicial board if we don't do that. So I mean, and also kind of, I'd be kind of hypocritical not to do that, considering I
Point of personal
complained
privilege?
against the CSU for not doing
Yes,
that. When
Hirsch?
thing.
Yeah,
So-
sorry, Hirsch. Yeah.
Can we just phrase it as notwithstanding all pertinent standing regulations without specifying, so that we don't have to, in the event that it comes up that one of the other ones is an issue?
I mean, it's better to have the numbers. That way you're shored away, but like I don't specifically see an issue with it. Let me ponder on that, but I can find you the numbers. Jack, are you on 2 accounts?
Nope. I'm just here on my iPad.
Okay, so then there must be a second Jack. Sorry, there's a lot of people. Okay, so I have here Hirsch, Eduardo, James, Lauren, Alex, Anais, Chelsea, Chris, Daniel, Deborah, Diana, Harrison, Howard, Isaiah, Jack, Malcolm, Michelle, Nicole, Sarah, Sean Howard, Sean Sederoff, Shivani, Shlomo, and Wyatt. There we go.
Point of order, pause
Yes.
recording.
Good point. Thank you. And one might have to. Just waiting for everyone to come back in. All right, so thank you very much for everyone who stayed in the waiting room. So following a discussion by council and after a vote, it was determined that these questions would not be put to ballot this time. We do, however, need to ratify those minutes. So if somebody can vote motion to do that.
Motion to ratify the minutes.
Harrison, do we have a second?
Seconded.
Second by Alex. Is there any opposition to ratifying the minutes of closed? All right, if there's no opposition, yes, Melise, go ahead. And then I'll move on to you, Hirsch.
Can I have an explanation of the logic?
I mean, it was held in closed session, so I don't want to break the confidentiality of closed session. So yeah, that's.
So could I argue in a way that that's slightly like in bad faith for like future references? Because like, let's say if we wanted to go back and like fix something in the future to like prevent all of this again, because as I said, this is like going on 3 years now. My eggs are rotting. I'm pretty tired of doing this. So like, could we not just get some form of like reference so that we don't have to keep on doing the same thing and having the same problem and finding a new thing?
So the reference that I'll give is that the motion was not whether or not the merits of the fee levies were up for a vote. It was whether or not council wanted to set aside their bylaws. So that was the issue at hand, and that's why the motion was written as it was. Hirsch, go ahead.
Well, I guess seeing as I don't actually have a vote on this topic, I'll invite my colleague, or I'll invite one of my colleagues, as discussed, that there was the second option of sending directly to referendum in November. So if we could vote to send the two groups directly to November now.
You can make the motion, you just can't vote on it.
Okay, motion to do that.
All right, do we have a second to
Point
send?
of information.
Yes, Isaiah?
Because we're in the SCM right now, so is it within the spirit of the agenda point, or do we have to, like, in the spirit of not breaking bylaws?
I would say it's in the spirit of the agenda point, and also we didn't pass anything so far. So one of the be it resolves was to send the fee levy groups to referendum. So in that sense, is
perfect
within the spirit. So, and we don't have to worry, like I said, about whether or not changing bylaws were held at a concurrent meeting with another thing, because we didn't end up changing them. So yeah, do we have a second for that motion?
Second.
Second by Sean Howard, and your motivation, Hirsch?
So the two groups in question have jumped through all the hoops necessary. They've collected between the two of them 1,500 signatures, which is sufficient to send 3 questions to referendum. They've already been through the council approval process, which based off of judicial board's interpretation and bylaw 9.6.2 might not even be necessary. They've gone through a pretty long and anxious few days. And at this point, they are where they are now. I think the least we can do for them is to at least stick it onto the next referendum, which is within our powers, and at that, like they meet all the criteria for that.
All right, thank you.
I'm not even sure about that, because I'm pretty sure that a certain executive will find a fucking way to.
Okay, James, stop. Lauren, go ahead.
I just wanted to
Fucking
say
snake.
that, like, this normally, like for fee levies, I usually think fee levies are really
Point of
easy.
information. Sorry, I just have a point of information. I heard my fellow councillor, Mr. Hanna, refer to an executive as a snake or an effing snake, and I don't believe that that is appropriate for this setting. So I'm not sure.
I apologize.
But
I apologize for being unparliamentary. I thought my mic was muted. I apologize.
Right, your apology is noted. I understand that tensions are high. If we want to take a 5-minute recess, would that be amenable to folks?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll formally motion that.
That's fair. All right, so motion by Alex. Is there a second?
Second. I second.
Nikki? All right, so we'll take a 5-minute recess and reconvene.
Do I still get my speaker's turn at the start
Yes.
of that?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You still get your speaker's turn. 5-minute health break, folks, and we will come back at 9:11. All right, folks, so it is 9:13. Michelle, are you good to go again?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, are we all good with reconvening? Okay, so if there is, let me just plug in my laptop. If there is no opposition to reconvening, then we'll continue with the speakers list that we had. And Lauren, you had the floor.
I just wanted to say that I think it would be very wise for both Space Concordia and the Mindful Project to like take this extra 4 months to kind of sort out some issues that council saw with their
8 months.
proposal.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Lauren, go ahead.
And so like the committee, like one of the big issues that I saw was that if like all the committee members had been there, Space Concordia's like proposal would not have been passed on the committee level, and it was not really recommended by the executive that manages all of the fee levies to also send it to referendum. So that kind of is an indicator to me that there's some issues that could be resolved there. That would be awesome, because normally there shouldn't be any contention, in my opinion, when it comes to passing a fee levy. Like usually it should be a unanimous vote, yes. And hopefully for the Mindful Project, I would love to, well, hopefully, like I wish them best of luck in recruitment and getting some new blood in there so that we can see them next year.
Great, thank you. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like a point of information or like I'm supposed to raise my hand for this, but what is voting to send them to referendum do? Like, is that just like a concept? Like, are we voting as a concept, or is that solidifying everything as it is now for November?
Yeah, it would be solidifying everything as it is now for November. So the petition was checked and everything was submitted to the fee levy review committee, and the signatures were good as they were. So that is that.
So it'd be like the signatures and the actual wording of the question and everything would be sent directly to November?
Yes, and if anything were to change, like if any of the numbers were to change, they would have to go through the process again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Nathan from Space Concordia, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on, Laura was mentioning that the Space Concordia should, take some wisdom to look and review things. Even I would just like bring to the council that the JB ruling this morning was about how 9.61 bylaw applied to ours, even though that wasn't the interpretation of the CSU for years, which would imply that 9.62 would apply to us, meaning that the council shouldn't even get a vote on whether this goes to referendum or not. So it shouldn't even be a unanimous vote. It shouldn't be a vote per se, because the bylaws, that's what they state. And honestly, the CSU, you should get a lawyer to review your bylaws, especially that 9.61, because it's very not clear and is the cause of all these issues. And honestly, the CSU is probably open to lawsuit for having passed previous fee levies illegally and in violation of their own bylaws. And if previous fee levies haven't been passed in previous years in violation of their own bylaws, students could take that to court and get a class action against the CSU for all those fee levies collected for all those years. And the CSU really needs to consider reviewing their bylaws and making sure that they got their shit together, because that's the reason that none of this all went wrong.
Right, so obviously the suggestion to get bylaws reviewed is well taken. However, just to clarify something that I did clarify in closed session as well, any past fee levy referendums, those were all in accordance with our bylaws because our standing regulations were only altered on Thursday, so it was a non-issue. The previous deadline in the standing regulations, which is what we were adhering to, was way before this. It was just the fact that on Thursday we had changed that standing regulation from the December before the referendum to the February, and this is what had caused the problem. So all previous fee levies were done in accordance with the bylaws, and signatures were submitted long in advance.
Point of information.
Yes.
When did CJLO submit their signatures in the fall?
I cannot answer that off the top of my head, but I can get you an answer. It's your speaker's turn too.
Okay, so you know what? I'm not going to address the point that the standing regulation for modifying a fee levy requires no signatures, which is like a gross violation of that. And I'm just glad that it's come up that we can fix that going forward. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. Now, I cannot speak about what was said in closed session one way or another because it is closed session. What I can say is that it was revealed to me in a dream that the mindfulness project does not have the capacity to recollect the signatures and whatnot. So it was also revealed to me in a dream that many people have thought to themselves, you know, if we do, this is purely a technicality and Space Concordia and the mindfulness project can just go to referendum in November. So in accordance with my dreams, and that's the only thing I can base it on because I can't say what was said in closed session, at least not an open session, I'm just gonna say that I think that this would be the right thing to do, you know, I mean, if it was said to me in my dreams that that it's just purely a technicality and we have to respect the pure technicalities and the, what do you call it? And it can just go forward in November, then let's just go forward in November.
Oh, sorry.
Point of information.
The answer to the CJLO question.
Point of information. Was that not closed session information that was just revealed?
Sorry, what was the closed session information? Sorry, I was trying to get you the answer to the CJLO question.
Yeah, well, my fellow counselor, Mr. Filler, stated what was revealed to him in a dream, but it appeared to be that when he was describing what this dream entailed, he was in fact describing what was happening in our closed session discussion.
All right, might I remind you of the code of conduct on closed session that states not to do that effectively, and that student union representatives need to maintain the strictest standards of confidentiality, and that not respecting the privacy of meetings held in closed session can open them to code of conduct violations. Reminder as well that all of this is being filmed.
My apologies, it's I spoke out of order. I'm sorry about that.
Right, thank you. Sorry, I'm still trying to find you the answer to the CJLO question. Nikki, go ahead.
Motion to go to closed session.
Second.
Seconded, was that Alex?
Wyatt.
Oh, Wyatt, all right. Do you want to motivate for?
Oppose.
Okay, well, first allow the counselor to motivate. Nikki, you have the floor.
Yeah, I think clearly based on things coming to people in dreams, we should probably go to closed session to clear up our internal council problems and then come back and talk to everyone else.
All right, thank you. So there's opposition to entering closed session. I don't want to spend a ton of time arguing the merits of closed session, but James, Daniel, or Melise, is that on the topic you want to speak?
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I didn't really want to. I was going to wait. But anyways. In terms of the last meeting, we were under the impression that it was going to come closed session for the sole purpose to talk about lawyer and laws and what your consultant said. And it turned out that there had been a whole external discussion. And I believe that based on the fact that there was still a need for us to be pulled in. And even for all these several things that we've these meetings that we've been to, there's always 1,000 questions. And I believe that if it can be closed session, including us, that would be great. Because I just don't really think it's entirely fair to have a full conversation on the merits of us deserving to be rewarded for our work, without having us there, because only Leia, only I, only people from Space Concordia, only people from Mindful can talk about why do we need this? Why are we doing this? All the work that we've done, and you guys are just speculating. I believe that in terms of accountability as well, we're all paying money for you guys to go ahead and talk about us. So like, you know, collectively, there's over like $2,000 of student fees in this call. Might as well let us sit here and like hear what you have to say about us.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder that folks can be led into closed session following a vote by council if council does so wish. James, go ahead. We're discussing.
Right. So when discussing closed session, I believe that I mean I can't talk about it. Right. I can't talk about why I don't want to go into closed session, about all of the instances where I think that closed session was used in bad faith in order to disadvantage Space Concordia and the Mindfulness Project. But suffice it to say, I actually can't talk about that, which is quite unfortunate, which is why I'm opposing it.
All right, thank you. So there is no more speakers list, so we will move to a vote on whether we want to enter closed sessions, which does require a 2/3.
Quick point of information, I would like to also just let everybody in this call know that counselors are not paid. We do not get a salary. So thank you, or honorarium for that matter.
All right, thank you for noting that. Diana, how do you vote closed session?
Yes.
Yes. Phineas? Don't believe is here. Harrison?
I'm sorry, we're voting to go into closed session?
Yes.
Yes, to go into closed session.
Right. Chelsea? Oh, I don't think she's there. Howard?
Yes.
Yes. Jeremiah? It's not here. Lauren?
Yes, please.
Yes. Wyatt?
Yes.
Yes. Sean Howard?
No.
No. Shlomo?
No.
No. Arya? Don't think is here. Sarah?
Yes.
Yes. Shivani?
Yes.
Yes. Marlena?
Yes.
Yes. Chris?
No.
No. Roman is not here. Sean S?
No.
No. Deborah?
Yes.
Yes. Nikki?
Yes.
Yes. Brandon?
Yes.
Yes. Anais?
Yes.
Yes. James?
No.
No. Alex?
Yes.
Yes. And Hirsch?
Based off of what happened previously, I guess I'll have to vote for yes.
Yes. All right. So that is 14 yes, 5 no. Oops. 14 over 9 is 0.74. So it does get the requisite 2/3, 0 abstentions as well. All right. So at this time, we will move
Point
into
of information.
closed session. Yes.
Did you just say it's 7-4?
It's 14 yes, 5 no.
Oh, okay, my bad.
14 over 19, and it is 0.74. Sorry, I was using the calculator on my computer to make sure I did not say the wrong thing. All right, so at this point, I'll just ask, or I'll put anyone who's not counselor, exec, myself, minute keeper, and JB in the waiting room.
Motion to allow, I'd say, Malise and who else wants to come into closed session? Them in.
I mean, every person or?
Point of order, are we not in closed session currently as the
Yes.
motion to go into closed session is passed?
Yes, we are in closed session. So we will deal with that motion in closed session.
And adjourn.
Okay, so motion to ratify the decisions followed by an adjournment.
Seconded.
Sorry, are we in open session then?
Yes, we are. We are.
The record button.
Yeah, I hit it.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't see it. Never mind.
I second the adjournment.
All right, seconded. Okay, so seconding the
Ratification of decisions.
ratify the decisions and adjournment by Wyatt. All right, is there any opposition to ratifying the minutes of closed session and adjourning? Okay, So in that case, folks, thank you very much for staying.
Sorry, I wasn't able to show. I am opposed to that. I have no idea what we're coming into. We can't just adjourn if I don't know what's happening.
Okay, so just to explain, oops, sorry, pressed the wrong button. Just to explain, so the this whole question of bylaws and standing regulations, we're going to get, or the CSU is going to get a legal opinion on it, and that way make a decision on at the April council meeting. Just because there's a lot of questions on the interpretations and so forth, so we're going to get a coherent, black on white paper that says what the next steps are, and that way decision can be made in April at the RCM on April 14th. So that was the decision.
I just
Motion to adjourn has been seconded.
Yeah, it already passed. Sorry, I was should have hit record. Yes.